All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you taking the time out on this important issue, and we know as jobs are something that is on the minds of everyone as we go forward, also the workers are on the minds of everyone as we go forward in this environment. I stand here today with more than 15 state and national organizations to urge this General Assembly to not to cut unemployment benefits for North Carolina workers and unemployed. At this moment, there are 3 unemployed workers for every available job in North Carolina. So if we filled every single job available today, there would still be 2 people who have nowhere to turn. And that would be still 2 people for every person we hire. Needless to say, during this economic downturn, jobless benefits have kept this state viable, have kept families in their homes, have kept families paying their bills and supporting local economies. And that's really important, that these unemployment benefits help families survive and help local communities. We've seen reports that the North Carolina Chamber of Commerce will soon propose that the legislature cut the maximum benefits level by approximately $174 a week and reduce the duration that unemployed workers could receive assistance by 6 weeks. Now, we know these are significant numbers for the least of these, those who are barely getting by and rely on these unemployment benefits. It's important to remember that these are not just numbers on a page. These changes are the difference between a person being able to pay their rent, or being able to buy grocery, or being able to support their family, or pay their utility bills, or do whatever that keeps families together and keeps communities together. North Carolina's unemployed trust fund crisis is a real problem that requires realistic long-term solutions. This debt hurts everyone. This debt hurts workers, it hurts employers, it hurts communities, it hurts businesses, it hurts everyone, and they all should be at the table. In addressing this problem, we can't ignore where it came from. We know that we helped create this problem. The General Assembly gave $1 billion in unemployment tax cut to employers in the 90s. We did that, and that was maybe an investment in the future in some people's eyes. When the trust fund was relatively in good shape at that time, and we went from forward financing to pay as you go. So we decided then to take the risk to reduce the cost to employers, and presumably there would be a payoff in the future as a result. We need to fix the system so when hard times come again and the trust fund can provide the help to unemployed workers and their families as needed. So again, we made that investment, or we made that decision, and now we're at a point where we have to pay for it. These are complicated problems with no easy solutions. And it's understandable that some of our fellow legislators feel a sense of urgency to make changes when they see how much we're borrowing from the federal government to fund our unemployment system. Again, we also have to keep in mind we helped make this problem when we changed our funding formula. Cutting these critical unemployment benefits for our state's most vulnerable citizens would be short-sighted, and the General Assembly should take no action that will hurt workers and their families even more than they've already suffered in these recent years. We all need a well-functioning system. A business has a right to play a part in finding this solution. Workers have a right to play a part in finding this solution, and employees have a right to find the solution as well. Everyone needs to be at the table. We need to have an inclusive process that really gets us solutions that work as we go forward. This morning you'll hear from Alexandra Sirota of the North Carolina Budget and Tax Center, Charles Tate, a worker who was recently employed after spending more than a year looking for work. And again, folks are out of work and they're looking for work. This is not a matter of people giving up. This is a matter of people continuing to try and relying on these benefits to sustain themselves until they have success. George Reed will also be here from the North Carolina Council of Churches. I want to start with Alexandra Sirota.
Thank you very much, Representative Hall. Thank you all for being here. My name is Alexandra Sirota, and I am the Director of the Budget and Tax Center, a project of the North Carolina Justice Center. We conduct analysis of budget, tax, and economic policy with the aim of expanding economic opportunity for all North Carolinians. We've conducted numerous analyses of the state's unemployment insurance system, analysis that has consistently found the importance of the system to workers who have lost their jobs through no fault of their own, the importance of the system to the economy, and the importance of forward financing. Most notably, in March 2007, we called for reforms to the way in which North Carolina financed this critical support to workers in the economy. I'm here today to share with you our analysis of the solvency crisis, explain why the Chamber's proposal will not resolve our current challenges, and express genuine interest in working with all stakeholders on a real solution to this problem. So first, how did we get here? The $1 billion in tax cuts for employers passed in the 1990s, as Representative Hall mentioned, significantly depleted North Carolina's trust fund ahead of the first recession in the decade of the 2000s. The lack of a full recovery from the 2001 recession and the tremendous scope of the Great Recession put historic pressure on our unemployment insurance system. North Carolina lost more than 300,000 jobs during that period at its peak. So we did not get here because of the modest benefits North Carolina provides unemployed workers, an average of just $290 a week, or because employers do not want to work. Under the same system, at the beginning of the decade, the average duration of unemployment was 9 weeks, because jobs were available for every worker who wanted to work. It was the combination of tax cuts for employers in the 90s and historic job losses that drove the trust fund crisis. And North Carolina had to borrow to meet its obligation under the federal state unemployment insurance system that has been in place for nearly 80 years. Currently, the loan balance stands at $2.4 billion. So let me talk a little bit about the Chamber's proposal. The Chamber's proposal will do nothing to address our current challenges, will harm workers, and fails to fix the fundamental problem with the unemployment insurance system. First, issuing bonds, one of their recommendations, has already been considered off the table by those who understand the cost of issuing debt and the state's current capacity to do so. Even if bonds were a possibility, the trust fund would return to borrowing again in 2013 and fail to achieve a positive balance again until 2016, nearly 3 years after borrowing. Cuts to benefit duration, or amounts paid to unemployed workers, would take 4 to 5 years to get to trust fund solvent and do nothing to address the current loan balance that North Carolina is carrying. Meanwhile, such actions would undermine a core principle of the UI system, the principle that we provide temporary and partial replacement of wages to those who have lost their job through no fault of their own, but because of economic factors. Such an action would impact an estimated 155,000 North Carolinians who have been out of work for 20 weeks or more. And another third of the labor market could be impacted by benefit cuts to maximum benefit levels if they lose their job through no fault of their own. This proposal does not address the trust fund crisis. North Carolina needs to abandon its experiment with pay-as-you-go financing and adopt a forward financing approach, one that builds up the trust fund balance in good times so that benefits can be paid out and taxes don't go up significantly in downturns. We did not get here overnight, and it will take time to rebuild the trust fund. A forward financing approach can get us there responsibly by ensuring full participation by employers. That means eliminating the zero tax rate. By ensuring equitable participation by employers, that means adjusting the tax schedules to increase the highest rates in line with the majority of states and increasing the beginning rate. And that means maintaining our current minimum safe level tax and considering a solvency assessment so that we can achieve adequate fund levels ahead of the next downturn. Most fundamentally, however, addressing the challenges to the unemployment insurance system and struggles facing workers will be supported with a focus on jobs. North Carolina's jobs deficit remains at nearly 500,000, and those jobs that are returning are likely to be very different than the ones that we have had in the past. We all must work together to ensure that North Carolinians can get back to work, and that means working on proven job creation strategies and reemployment services that work. While the jobs remain slow to come, the unemployment insurance system must continue to serve its purpose and support workers and the economy through difficult times. We welcome the opportunity to work with all stakeholders on solutions that can fix this problem. Thank you.
And we want to now hear from Charles Tate, who was unemployed for a year, but continued to work, continued to look for work. And he's going to share some of his experiences about the difficulties you encounter when you're unemployed and you're relying on these benefits.
Thank you very much. I'm Charles Tate. I'm very happy to be here to be a voice for a lot of workers in my demographic profile. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I'm a graduate of East Tennessee State University, master's degree from the University of Phoenix. Worked 23 years in the furniture industry, making kitchen cabinets, managing operations there. 10 years employed in distribution and furniture industry. A year and a half employed in making bagels at a bakery. Along that course of time, in 23 years, climbing that corporate ladder, working for that American dream of home ownership, getting the kids to college, and providing the good life. That was jerked out from under my feet. That was over 15 years ago. During that time period, I was able to get other employment quickly within a month at $20,000 less per year, but it was a job, better than unemployment. Again, after working in the furniture industry 10 years, similar situation happened. But this time it wasn't quite as easy to find a job. This time, on that occasion, it was a year. Worked at the bakery for a year and a half and laid off again. So it's been a repeated situation. And during that course of time, looking for jobs, looking for a job is a job itself, particularly when you're talking the 50-plus age group. I have often sat at the computer and just waited for that response to come back. Please do not reply to this message. We'll call you if we need you, basically. Or when I am lucky to get into the interview, and it shows up then that I'm not between that age group of 35 to 45 that they're looking for, and get the reply 2 days later, if they care to, thanks, but we found someone more qualified for you for the job. So this is, as I stand here and let you know, that's what I'm faced with in the job search. The other aspect is, what has unemployment done for me? Well, it's more of what it has done for me. It has created a situation where I had at one time the hope to be able to retire maybe in the next couple of years. It has drained my retirement fund. Hopefully, I still have enough where I won't be a drain on society when I do end this work career. It could have cost me my home. I have a daughter here that's in college. If it wasn't for the benefits I was receiving, she might not have had that opportunity to fulfill her dream. Other things along the way is the fact that not only myself, but many others. I'm in a job situation now. As I stand here, I feel fortunate in a lot of ways. I'm also the face. I currently am working at a nonprofit for an organization that's helping people keep their homes. And I see people come through. One example was a Southern Baptist preacher who, because of his congregation, has lost jobs. He's working for sometimes half pay, sometimes no pay. And his wife got laid off. So he's faced with the situation, trying to keep his home, trying to face the public and deliver that message of hope. Or I'm the face of that construction worker in Troutman that feel fortunate to find a temporary job traveling all the way to Salisbury every day. And the cost of gas is no cheaper for him. Okay? Or that single father of 4 who's been in his home for over 20 years, trying to hold on to that home. That's been the structure of his family. So as I stand here, going through some of my challenges, I'll relate to you those challenges of others. That as I've been very fortunate to work now at this nonprofit situation. Along the way also, to keep my family going, where I may be more comfortable in a manufacturing setting or a warehouse setting, I've maintained that job as a tutor, working with third graders, or working as a reading grader, grading 5th grade integrate tests, doing whatever it can to keep my family going. So if there is an image out there that the person on unemployment is lazy, is not looking for work, that's not what I see. As I have been blessed, like I say, to be able to help others along the way now that are faced with similar situations, trying to keep their family together, trying to keep their home, seeing that that unemployment benefit, what it is, it's not nothing to build on, okay? But it is a source of hope that they can maintain until that job, after those hundreds of rejections, finally comes through. So I urge you that do not cut the unemployment wages, that these are important to maintaining families. I want to thank you for your time today.
And next, we want to hear from George Reed from the North Carolina Council of Churches. Many of you are aware of all the work they do to try to help keep families together, especially in these difficult times, and hear what their experiences have been.
My name is George Reed, and I'm the Executive Director of the North Carolina Council of Churches. I'm glad to be here today to add the Council's voice in opposition to reducing unemployment benefits. The North Carolina Council of Churches is made up of 18 denominations. Our members include more than 6,000 congregations and more than 1 million congregants. And for our 75-plus year history, issues of workers' rights, working conditions, and wages have been important to us. Our faith calls us to compassion and action for vulnerable people. Our scriptures, both Old Testament and New, contain words specific to the situation of workers and the call to employers to treat workers fairly. You've heard the numbers and some of the stories already. There are few groups in North Carolina today that are more vulnerable than laid-off workers with families to support and rent or mortgage payments to make. So the Council is pleased to join with these other groups today to oppose any reduction in unemployment benefits, especially during these days of high unemployment in our state. Cutting benefits is clearly the wrong thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, and as we get ready to take some questions, I do want to make sure everyone remembers that this problem is one that affects all of us, and we all need to be in the room when the solution is determined. The current proposal to cut benefits doesn't solve this problem really in the short run or in the long run. It only buys time for people to suffer until we're forced to face it again. And the families who would be hurt are struggling now and continue to struggle. So we need to have a comprehensive solution and have everyone at the table. We can't afford to kill our communities, to kill our families, to kill what hope they have that we'll be able to come out of this current economic time. We're going to take questions. Yes, sir.
What efforts are underway to get that dialogue going, and how do you make that happen, given the minority-majority situation in the legislature right now?
I'm Bill Rowe with the North Carolina Justice Center. We have reached out to the State Chamber of Commerce, asking to sit down and discuss their proposal as well as our proposals. And so we're hopeful that the groups that are standing here before you today will be able to engage with the business community, because we all, like Representative Paul said, we're all in this together. And so the first step is reaching out to the business community and asking them to start that dialogue.
So have you heard back from them, or?
We have not heard back from them yet.
When did you reach out to them?
Well, we met with them probably 2 or 3 months ago to discuss the situation. They said they were going to be putting forward a proposal and that we would be doing one as well. And we reached out to them probably last week to talk about the proposal we heard that they were floating, and responded again probably just within a few days with more details about what we were thinking about. So it's been over a course of some months, but probably more lately that we really talked to them.
Given the urgency of the situation, are you encouraged by that response?
We're trying to start a negotiation, so I'm going to say that yes, we're encouraged to talk to them. There's no reason to close the door before we even get it open. So I think we're hopeful, and if the door isn't open, then we'll have to pursue other means with legislators as well. And it's not just with the business community, but it's also talking to the elected leaders here in the state as well. But I remain hopeful. I won't speak for everybody up here.
Representative Hall, maybe you could address the same question.
Well, from a legislative standpoint, we are having discussions, and we do want to make sure, as we said, everybody's in the room. One of the reasons North Carolina has been able to attract jobs, and we've been able to use incentives as well to get employers to come here, is because of that low rate we have. And so it's advertised as one of the things that employers and businesses look at when they come here. And as I said, in effect, it was an investment by all the citizens of the state to say, we're going to do this, but the benefits that have now come since then, where we attracted more employers and members of the chamber and other business organizations have benefited from it, increased profits, etc., more money in their operational budgets. Now we're at a time when we all now have to come back together and try to have a solution to help save those workforces and be prepared as we come out of this recession or downtime going forward. So we're not looking for a confrontation, we're looking for cooperation. We're looking for a long-term and short-term solution that really works. We're not looking to put the problem off and put it on the backs of unemployed workers. We're looking to find a solution that'll work going forward and keep us a place where people can locate jobs and be an attractive place for businesses to come.
There was a mention of a 0% tax rate on some businesses. Could you explain that and talk about how you might like to see that change?
Yeah, so there's so there's a 0% tax rate that nearly 19,000 employers currently pay at that rate.
Is that based on their size of their workforce?
The rates are based on their experience with the system. And so what is the majority of states in the country actually don't allow a zero contribution rate in a downturn. 39 states do not. And so what we're suggesting is that we eliminate that zero contribution rate, especially during downturns, so that we have the full participation of employers in funding the system, which will be critical to getting to adequacy and also making sure that the employers who also benefit from having a strong unemployment system are contributing to its solvency.
Is there any concern that that could affect small employers disproportionately because those small employers might be less inclined to have a history of laying off workers?
That's an interesting question. We don't have the exact demographics on the businesses at each tax rate schedule, but certainly something to look at. I think the concern nationwide is to make sure that whatever changes to the unemployment insurance system are considered in light of the viability of all businesses. But certainly small businesses, I couldn't answer whether they're more likely to pay at the zero rate than others.
Just one more follow-up. Have you looked at how much that change might impact the debt?
That individual change, no, but we know that a combination of our plan would get you to solvency by 2015. So that would be a combination of all of the things that we've mentioned. individually, the 0% rate is likely to generate a certain share of that. It's not the largest piece to the puzzle.
Okay. If we have any other questions, okay. If we don't, we appreciate you coming, and certainly we hope we can get this issue resolved with all parties at the table and with a solution that works for North Carolina. Thank you again.